from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
From making fabric to becoming top fashion.
To actually see it working and to feel the fabric coming off the loom, feel the yarns, feel the slavers, feel the rovings and things like that.
See what goes into creating this iconic item that's in everyone's closet. As war rages on between Israel and Hamas, food help is on the way from the U.S. to thousands of people.
I got no pushback, virtually none.
And when could we see a new farm bill? Why some say not before the end of the year, what some leaders have in mind instead, right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Tyne Morgan, coming to you from our Farm Journal studios in Kansas City. Clinton has the day off. Well, as the U.S. House looks for a path forward and a new speaker, the future farm bill hangs in the balance, with many in Congress now shifting away from a full-blown reauthorization this year. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack discussing the farm bill in Kankakee, Illinois this week. Our friends at farmweek.com on hand. Vilsack meeting with farmers at a fourth-generation grain farm, outlining the Biden administration's vision for expanding the farm economy from the middle out. He also announced an additional $52 million in awards to expand domestic fertilizer production and the expansion of crop insurance for double cropping. The secretary also touching on what he sees as a key ingredient needed in the farm bill: local and regional food systems.
The worst thing that could happen would be for the farm bill to be written in a way that eliminates that, because many of the programs in local and regional food systems are supported by the farm bill.
First and foremost, we need to get the farm bill done. And secondly, how important some of the grants that the different entities, farmers and different entities have received, and how important that's been really to my district and keeping family farms going, helping young farmers, but also helping different educational programs, which are really important also.
But getting that new farm bill before the end of the year is looking more like a distant possibility. Farm Journal Washington analyst Jim Wiesmeyer telling us that key Senate Republicans are advocating for a one-year extension of the farm bill. He says the change can be attributed to the current power struggle in the House of Representatives and uncertainties surrounding the pressing need to avert a government shutdown next month. The Senate Ag Committee's ranking Republican, John Boozman of Arkansas, saying the next spending package needed to keep the government open would be a good opportunity for an extension. Other senior committee Republicans, including Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, have also voiced support for a short-term extension. However, Wiesmeyer says Senate Ag Committee Chairwoman, Democrat Debbie Stabenow of Michigan, maintains it's premature to abandon the idea of a full 5-year farm bill. Also a focus right now in Congress, the war between Israel and Hamas. President Biden addressing the nation last night after just returning from a high-stakes visit to Israel. As John Lawrence reports, food and other humanitarian aid is on the way from the U.S.
As pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian rallies are held separately in the U.S., Gaza is about to get some much-needed assistance.
I got no pushback, virtually none. Let me say it again. I got no pushback.
From the Israelis or from all the partners here?
All the partners.
The Biden White House has earmarked $100 million worth of support for Gaza and the West Bank.
I was very blunt about the need to support getting humanitarian aid to Gaza. Get it to Gaza and do it quickly.
The funds will be used to support the more than 1 million people who've been displaced since the start of the war between Israel and Hamas.
Material has to get in to Gaza, medicine and food and fuel. Fuel, by the way, is not just for the civilian population. It powers things like desalination plants that help provide water.
Israel says it will eradicate Hamas after the militant group's attack on an Israeli music festival earlier this month that killed 1,400 people, while Palestinian officials are blaming Israel for Tuesday's deadly blast on a hospital in Gaza.
I went into the building and suddenly heard strikes. Many of my friends were killed.
A spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces and U.S. government officials both believe Palestinian Islamic Jihad is to blame for the hospital attack, which the group denies. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Well, China is taking a major step forward with its own ag production, approving 51 genetically modified crops. It comes after years of delay when it comes to GM crops. The approvals, which will become final after a 30-day comment period, open the door for seed companies to produce and sell 37 new GM corn varieties and 17 new soybean varieties to Chinese farmers in time for the upcoming spring planting season. The approved GM crops come with several traits, including pest resistance, frost and heat tolerance, and compatibility with herbicides like glyphosate. All of the approved GM crop varieties were reportedly developed by domestic Chinese companies. Experts say the move will reshape China's ag economy with record-breaking corn and soybean yields anticipated for the coming year. And while China is the biggest buyer of U.S. ag, Russia appears to be gaining a foothold. Reuters reporting that Russia's EPT grain export company is now in a contract with China to supply 70 million tons of Russian grains. That includes legumes and oil seeds. It says the contract is good for 12 years with the possibility of an extension. One Russian ag watchdog says the country's grain exports to Beijing have grown to a record 3.5 million tons since the start of the year. That's up from 2.2 million tons for all of last year. Well, one thing that's guaranteed to happen during harvest time, the weather can make some dramatic swings. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us now to take a look at some big changes ahead.
Yeah, it's a really good way to put it. Dramatic swings into next week. Locations that are blue are going to be orange. Locations that are orange are going to be blue. Now that's again coming up next week. If we go deeper into the start of November, you see how everything starts to flip with those dramatic swings in temperatures in and across the United States. Below average temperatures into the Dakotas, Minnesota, as well as into parts of Texas and Oklahoma, October 26th through the 1st. Now coming up in just a little bit, we'll actually take a look at the more immediate future and the pattern, which could hold some warmer than average conditions. But a lot of this cold air, we're starting to see it pool back up into Canada. So by the time we get to the end of October, around Halloween and the start of November, it's going to start to make its way in and across the United States. Go ahead and take a look at your screen here. No, seriously, you got to look at this one. Look how cute this is. Not only that, check out the backdrop as well. Hello. It's sent in by Kevin of Fort Collins, Colorado. Kevin capturing a curious cow and an amazing sunset. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Well, the overall condition of the nation's pasture and rangelands, well, that's getting worse. 37% is rated poor to very poor. That's up 1 point from last week. From the southern plains to the western Gulf Coast on north to the western Corn Belt, things are looking pretty rough, with Texas particularly hit hard. And the further north you go, meteorologist Brad Rippey says the less likely those pastures will recover before cold weather sets in.
Still in the south at this time of year, if you get some good soaking rains, you can revive those pastures. But just like winter grains, you really tend to not see much grass development once temperatures, average temperatures that is, drop below about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're getting within about 2 to 4 weeks or so when you're not going to see significant recovery.
Right now, USDA reports only 33% of pasture and range conditions are rated good to excellent. For a second straight month, the overall rural Main Street Index is registering below growth neutral. The monthly survey of rural bankers now registering at 44.4. That's down from last month's 49.5 reading. Ernie Goss of Creighton University, which conducts the survey, says it's the weakest reading so far this year, and he says it points to weaker farm and non-farm economies. Roughly 44% of the bankers said low or falling crop prices are a top concern in regards to farm profitability in the next 13 months, while 22% pointed to rising interest rates as another big concern. Also a concern, the bull market for cattle right now. Is it coming to an end? Michelle Rook dives into that in our markets now. And later, from a mill in Louisiana, a fashion icon is born. See how it's made in the country. There are reports the largest pork producer in the U.S. is looking to return to the U.S. stock market. The Wall Street Journal says Chinese-owned pork producer Smithfield is reportedly in discussions about it. It says the Chinese parent company of Smithfield, WH Group, is collaborating with banks to explore the possibility, with the listing potentially happening as early as next year. Smithfield was acquired by China's top meat producer in 2013, resulting in its delisting from the New York Stock Exchange. It went public in Hong Kong in 2014. Other major meat companies like Brazil's JBS are also considering U.S. listings amid challenging conditions in the meat industry. So can the cattle market continue to shake off the outside market war demand news? And what will be the signal that the bull market is over? AgDay's Michelle Rook asked those questions in Markets Now.
Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook with Brad Koima with Koima Varlick. And Brad, we've been in a big bull market in the cattle. And, you know, how long can this continue with all of this outside market noise that we've had?
Everybody knows that's worth their salt anyway, that the cow herd's at 60-year lows. So, you know, we've got a basic supply situation that sets up pretty friendly. You know, you mentioned the outside stuff, right? This is over my pay grade. I'm not a defense specialist here to know how this is going to end. I hope well and quickly in terms of what's going on in the Middle East, of course, and that it stays contained. I think that the market seems to be saying that if this conflict can be handled regionally without this terrorism spreading to other areas like the United States, we experience that. We know what happens to sentiment and what happens to the psychic of the long speculator, and for that matter, what happens to the consumer. They freeze up. They don't dare to go anywhere. They don't want to go out. They don't want to travel. They don't, all that stuff, right? I don't know. I feel like, we're 10 days deep into this now. It feels to me like the market's so far so good.
So what is the signal that you're going to be watching for to tell you that this bull market might be over or taking a little bit of a break?
The fundamental deal to me would be a lack of currentness, if that would happen. Now, people are going to go, well, that's a lot of hard work, Brad, watch the fundamentals, whatever. I guess, from a longer term standpoint, if December cattle would get back below 182, I'd be deeply concerned. That area provided great support, through the summer. I suppose that would be where I'd probably draw my line in the sand. But, I've been telling other guys, you can buy 181 puts for $1 on December cattle. That's quite a level. I don't have it up exactly. Maybe it isn't $1, maybe it's $1.10, whatever. But, do something to manage your risk, but that gives you upside potential would still be my advice.
Thanks so much, Brad Koima with Koima Varlick. We'll have more Ag Day coming up.
To contact Brad, give him a call at 712-722-0023 or visit the website at kkvtrading.com. Your next piece of equipment is on machinerypete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on machinerypete.com.
As promised a little bit ago, we looked at kind of the end of October into November. More immediate future has temperatures cooler than average in across the Midwest and the Southeast as our low pressure system, our trough, digs in across the United States and eventually is going to move off to the Northeast. That pocket of cool air, that's right here. You got more of the 30s and the 40s. This is coming up for tomorrow morning, and more of the mid to upper 50s back out here towards the west. But actually you can kind of get a sense of the next ridge that is going to be building in right in here. That is going to strengthen and grow off towards the east and the northeast in the coming week. So tomorrow afternoon, still some cooler air out there into parts of upstate New York in the northeast, and then the heat back down into Texas, 93 in San Antonio, 92 in Dallas, and then a pocket of some cooler air, kind of the trailing bit of this trough back off towards the west. So the long-term pattern, you're going to see a lot of ridging and a lot of troughing, and that's where we get our big swings in our temperatures. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that trough is going to be matched up with that pocket of cool air that is going to translate off to the north and to the northeast, possibly strengthen as it gets back into Maine and up there to the top right corner of your screen. In its wake, There's your ridge starting to build. So this is on Sunday. Expect this to amplify out for Tuesday and Wednesday, bringing in not only quiet conditions, but above average heat across these areas as well. So we had the trough moving out, the ridge building in on Tuesday, and then way back up here, top left corner of your screen, if you're looking for a frost or cold temperatures, you want to follow this piece of energy through the jet stream Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You can see by Thursday and Friday, this starts to dip down, reacting to a pocket of cold air. The deeper we get into October and early November, the colder that air is behind some of these troughs, behind some of these cold fronts. So keep an eye on that, not this weekend, but next weekend. Here's a look at that precipitation outlook, October 24th through the 28th. That trough's going to try and dig and possibly some wetter than normal conditions. Roy, Montana, sunny, high around 71 degrees, low of 39 degrees. Roy, Stun, morning light rain, high around 71 degrees, low of 46. Raymond, Mississippi, mostly cloudy, high around 88.
Still ahead, one of our very own YouTube stars, Machinery Pete, talks about one of his favorite videos he's made over the years. And later, see how a classic fashion piece is weaved together at a mill in Louisiana in the country. Farm Journal has some of its own YouTube stars, and one of them is Machinery Pete, and he has more on one of his favorite YouTube videos.
Well, folks, I've had a ton of fun posting Machinery Pete YouTube videos over the last 14 years, covering auctions all over the country. I'm going to be out on the road in Winchester, Kentucky, Saturday, October 28th, a great sale by Taylor Auction Company. Awesome line of John Deere tractors. Hope to see you there. Now, if I think back over the years, one of the most memorable YouTube videos I posted was an auction from June 28th of 2014 in Bedford, Iowa, collector auction for renowned collector Keen Thummel, John Deere and Alice Chalmers tractors. And one of the headliners on that sale was this beautiful open station restored John Deere 6030, sold for $64,000. And folks, that stood as the all-time record high auction price on a 6030 for almost 9.5 years until this past Monday, October 16th, an online collector auction in the evening by Hanold Auctioneering in Chesterfield, Illinois. Holy smokes, it was unbelievable. They had two 6030s on this auction, and here's the 1970 with 4,598 original hours, been restored. That brought $81,855, but honestly, that one got lost in the wash because the other 6030, holy smokes, this thing was a rare non-turbo. Deere only made 45 of these things. Folks, this thing, the online bidding just kept going and going and going and going. Wound up selling, the hammer price was $141,000. Tack on the 7% buyer's fee, and it was $150,870. I'm guessing this record might stand a while. And oh, by the way, same auction had a John Deere 5020 1969 model, $107,000.
Thanks, Greg. Well, it's a long way from the fashion runways of Paris, but what this Louisiana mill creates captures the eye of designers around the world. That's in the country. Well, there's a small town in Louisiana that's providing fashion designers worldwide an essential material. Much of it is made from the cotton grown in the area and the Mid-South. LSU Ag Center reporter Craig Gautreaux has the story from Vidalia, Louisiana.
Just a short distance from the banks of the Mississippi, Vidalia Mills is busy making yarn, an important material used in many apparel items. Denim. A group from the LSU Ag Center Textiles, Apparel Design, and Merchandising Department toured the facility and got to see how premium denim is made.
It has a very thin selvage, which is the very edge of the fabric, and it's really decorative and pretty, and your high-end denims will actually include that as part of the outseam of the garment.
While only employees of the department were part of the tour group, some thought it would be beneficial for students to see the inner workings of a major textile operation.
To actually see it working and to feel the fabric coming off the loom, feel the yarns, feel the slivers, feel the rovings and things like that. You know, they don't necessarily get that in the classroom.
The key ingredient for the products being manufactured is cotton, some of which is grown in the nearby fields. Having raw materials close by is an area of research Stannard has an interest in.
The idea of local and sustainable has always been a part of my research program. It's something I try to bring into the classroom, and it's something I really want to emphasize to the students. So it was like, we got to come here.
Not only are the materials coming from the area, but the mill has brought good jobs to a region that is one of the most disadvantaged economic locations in the state.
I like the idea of bringing jobs back to a community, good paying jobs. The other part of the equation is he pays 100% of the medical coverage for an employee here.
While Vidalia Mills is a long way from the runways of Paris, Milan, and New York, you may find a design that got its start in this small town along the Mississippi River. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gotro reporting.
Thanks, Craig. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. Thank you for watching. For all of us at Ag Day, I'm Tyne Morgan. Have a great day in Farm Country.